Hey everybody, and welcome to Porch Therapy, a new episode, a new week. Glad to spend a little bit of time with you. What is Porch Therapy? Well, as we told you in our first episode last week, Porch Therapy is a flashback, a throwback to the days of Solomon's Colonnade or Solomon's Porch, where people would gather together and they would share things and they would share their lives with one another. Jesus would walk among them and healings would take place, and it was just a beautiful part of the temple experience in those days. Well, today I've been thinking about this. Now, this is a staple I'm sure that you find in your pantry, and one that most of you are certainly familiar with, because I was reading a passage in God's Word where Jesus speaks about salt. It may sound very familiar to many of you. Listen to what Jesus says. He says, you, talking about those who follow Christ, he says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. I got curious today. I thought to myself, all right, so what are some of the ways in which salt can lose its flavor? And I was surprised a little bit to find out that it can't. Salt is unable, it does not. It's like if this thing is sitting on the shelf, and I don't know how long we've had this one, but if it's sitting on the shelf, it is not going to lose its flavor. In fact, the only thing that can happen to salt is that it can be diluted. It can be diluted down to the point where the saltiness of it is not apparent, but the salt itself and the particles, without some kind of chemical change taking place, cannot lose its saltiness. So what does that mean for us as Christians, as Jesus instructed us that we shouldn't lose our saltiness? We should not lose our flavor. Well, the reality is, just like this salt, the salt that is given to us, which is the gospel can be diluted in our lives. For many Christians, we fall into that trap of the salt losing its flavor because we're caught up in all of our worries. You know, Jesus talked about the seed that time, talked about the seed being cast out on the ground, and some of it fell among the thorns and the bushes, and as it grew up, the thorns and the bushes choked off the life of that seed, and it died. And so he represents that to being the worries and the struggles of this earth. And I have to tell you, we have to be careful not to see our lives and our saltiness diluted by the political culture, the mask and social distancing and COVID-19 culture, the regular worries of our life, that both of those things seem to take up because the saltiness can be diluted. And I'm going to tell you, we are in a community in need of flavor. We live among a people that are absolutely flavorless because they lack the salvation, the knowledge of God. And you and I have been called out to be salt here upon this earth. Now, I want you to notice something here. The Morton Salt logo. Take a look at that for a second. Notice what the girl is doing as she's spreading the salt. She is keeping an umbrella over her to keep the salt, that it not be diluted by the world. And so, what is that umbrella? Well, I would suggest Psalm 91 today, that if we are under the shadow of the Almighty, we're under His wings, we're under His covering, and we're protecting the salt that He has designed us to be. So my encouragement to you today, go out and be the salt in your community. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.